And joining us in the newsroom to talk more about the Oscar Pistorius situation is Layth Gafoor, managing editor of Lucentum Sports and Entertainment Law. Layth, thanks so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure to chat with you, Tom.
What's your impression here? What does this ruling mean for Pistorius, who can now leave his country?
Well, I think, Tom, what we saw today was the defense took the low-hanging fruit. I think today was a disastrous outcome in terms of the court of public opinion. While it may have been legally proper that he be granted the bail appeal, I think that folks are shocked that for someone who, someone's died, at the hands of Oscar Pistorius, and now his ability to move on, I think sends the entirely wrong message for an athlete of his caliber to be sending out to the world.
I'll go back to court proceedings before, and I believe the understanding was because he's such a world-renowned public figure that there's really no place for him to hide, no matter where he goes around the world. So would that have played in this ruling? Well,
Tom, as I mentioned, I think that legally the judge got it right, because at the original bail hearing, you'll recall the judge said that he was no flight risk. And so to say someone's not a flight risk and still put those types of conditions, there was a disconnect. But what's more important in this story is that the public expects that he should be grieving. He should be laying low. He should be thinking about his defense and not looking to compete again. So what I think is important is why would he want to get himself back under the limelight of competing when just a few weeks ago we heard he was responsible for killing his girlfriend.
That's an interesting point you make. You would think if you were his counsel that you would want him to stay put and not be interested in anything other than this court proceeding that lies ahead of him.
What it shows me, and I think what it shows everyone, is that this is a runaway train. I mean, an Oscar Pistorius is the person who's driving it. If he had been respecting the older, wiser people giving him advice, they would have told him, Oscar, this is the low-hanging fruit. Let's prepare for your trial. You've been released. I mean, think about this. He was even taken off the conditions of not consuming alcohol. And there's not just a correlation. It is a fact that anyone involved or alleged to commit violent crimes, alcohol always acts as an accelerator in those circumstances. Even that was taken away. So I don't think he's listening to the people who are close to him. I think he's making all the calls, and I think that's not a good thing going forward.
Interesting. Okay, let's check out our own backyard. Would this happen in Canada?
Well, if we take it from the perspective of Oscar was released for first-degree murder charges, so we'll go beyond that. But I'll tell you, for sure, the issue of travel, I think a reasonable court, a superior court in Ontario, would have taken that restriction and would have given him the ability to travel. It's a reasonable decision, again, based on the specifics of this case, namely how identifiable he is. I guarantee you no court in this country would have taken away that two conditions. The first in relation to the consumption of alcohol, and second, the condition in relation to his ability to return to his previous address. No court in this country, in my respectful opinion, would have given him a variation on those two terms. There's simply no need for it.
Let's look at the competitions. Is anyone going to invite him to a competition and give him an appearance fee at this stage?
Tom, the main point I think what we need to take from this is that all reports we've heard is that Oscar is a person of means and his family is affluent. So he doesn't need this money. He could probably use it. And so the idea that he's competing again, I think it brings the wrong attention to the sport. He should be laying low, staying away from the sport, grieving, and more importantly, building his defense. I mean, he's on trial for first-degree murder and he's out competing, so it sends the wrong message. But more importantly, it gives the wrong kind of attention to all those Paralympic athletes who have worked so hard. It's going to be a media circus wherever he goes.